This video is on Psalm 143, a wonderful psalm at the end of the Psalter. Psalms 140 to 143 speak about David being delivered from his enemies, and this psalm is also called a psalm of penitence or repentance. This means that this psalm focuses on the sinfulness of the psalmist or the sinfulness of all people. It's similar to Psalm 32, 51, Psalm 103, and Psalm 130. Those psalms also focus upon the human sinfulness of people. Well, let's look at this psalm. Verse 1, the psalm starts out with a plea to the Lord. David crying out to the Lord, for the Lord to hear him. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Give ear to my pleas for mercy. And then David mentions two important truths about the Lord. First, the faithfulness of the Lord. The Lord is committed to his promises and always fulfills his word. And number two, the righteousness of the Lord. The Lord is always going to do good and justice according to his ways. But in light of the righteousness of the Lord, the faithfulness of the Lord, David calls to mind the universal human sinfulness. And he asks God not to enter into judgment with his servant in verse 2. And he says, no one living before you is righteous. God is a righteous God. Psalm 7 verse 11 says, God is a righteous judge. But all humans, they are unrighteous. And David is teaching the total depravity of humanity. And then we go to verses 3 and 4. We see the issue that David is writing this psalm in what he's going on. Enemies have pursued him. Enemies have crushed his life. This enemy has made him sit in darkness. And David's spirit fails and his heart is appalled. Obviously, David is going through some trying times. He is in despair and seriously upset for what he's gone through. In verses 5 to 6, David reflects upon the glory of the Lord. I will remember, I will meditate, I will ponder all the things and all the works of the Lord. David stores in his heart what the Lord has done. David stores in his heart the mighty works of God. And in verses 7 to 12, David has 10 requests. David is in despair because of his enemy. And David reflects upon his sin and the character of God. And then David cries out to God for mercy with 10 requests. Verse 7, he cries out, answer me quickly. He also says, hide not your face from me. Verse 8, let me hear of your steadfast love. Make known to me the way I should go. Verse 9, he says, deliver me. Verse 10, teach me to do your will. Let your good spirit lead me. Verse 11, preserve my life. Bring my soul out of trouble. And verse 12, cut off my enemies. So in the midst of all this, David prays for God to work, not to hide from him, but to shine his face, to deliver, even to teach him, and then, of course, cut off his enemies. David trusts in the faithfulness of the Lord and the mercy of God, and we know this because he goes to God crying out for mercy and deliverance. Psalm 143, of course, points us to two important truths for us as Christians. First, human sinfulness in the universal of human sinfulness. Romans 3:23, all have fallen short of the glory of God. And just like he says here in verse 2, no one living before you is righteous. Only God is righteous. And it points us to something else important as Christians, the work of Christ upon the cross. You saw those 10 commands. God showing grace, God answering, God delivering, preserving of life, bringing his soul out of trouble. Doesn't that point us to the person and work of Jesus Christ, where Jesus Christ comes to deliver people from the power and authority of their sin? Jesus Christ is the great deliverer, and Jesus Christ saves. His name, Jesus, even means saves. Matthew 1:21, and you shall name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. Thanks for watching, and God bless.